Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Politics live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Lagos. Well, tonight our attention is on the issue of anti-corruption. Well, let me remind you of this face. You perhaps remember him. Rahman Abbas, popularly called Hush Puppy. His arrest last year over cases of internet fraud. He was arrested in the United Arab Emirates and taken to the United States to answer to some of the cases that is being alleged to have committed. Only a few days ago, the name of a popular and highly placed police officer in Nigeria was linked in the matter, a Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari rather. And today, the Police Service Commission has suspended Mr. Abba Kyari, a Deputy Commissioner of Police and Head of Intelligence Response Team of the Nigeria Police Force, from the exercise of powers and functions of his office. Mr. Abba Kyari's suspension took effect from July the 31st, 2021 and will subsist pending the outcome of the investigation in respect of his indictment by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, of the United States. The Commission has also directed the Inspector General of Police to furnish it with information on further development on the matter for necessary further action. In a statement by the Commission's Head of Public Relations, Ikechukwu, the decision was conveyed in a letter signed by Justice Clara Bata Ogubi, a retired Justice of the Supreme Court and Honorable Commissioner in the Commission for the Commission's Chairman, Alhaji Musiliu Smith. The decision of the Police Service Commission follows the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba's recommendation for the immediate suspension of DCP Abba Kyari from the service of the Nigerian Police Force, pending the outcome of an ongoing internal investigations touching on him. A letter from the police boss to the Service Commission noted that the recommendation for the suspension of the officer is in line with the internal disciplinary processes of the Nigerian Police Force. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Mr. Muiz Banere, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, is here with us on the latest on the Hush Puppy matter, the suspension of Mr. Abba Kyari, the senior police officer linked in the Hush Puppy matter, being investigated by the FBI. Thank you so much, Mr. Banere, for joining us. If you can hear me now, the question I was going to ask you before the connection went out was that, what do you think is the implication of this matter now linked to a senior Nigerian police officer in charge of intelligence unit of the Nigerian police, and how the image of the country is involved here? What are the ramifications from your point of view?
It's gone again. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please go ahead, Mr. Banner.
Hello?
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, from my perspective, certainly it is a dent on the image of the country, certainly on that. And I'm glad that it seems that the way we are handling it well so far, because the normal thing is that you conduct your own investigation. When you conduct your own investigation, and you'll be able to know whether the allegation is that in which warrants extradition of the officer to the United States or not. Of course, there is a process that must be complied with in this regard, but at least what we are doing now is more or less our own internal preliminary investigation of the allegation. As at now, the officer is still presumed innocent, and at such time that we are at least able to establish a prima facie case against him, then we can then trigger the process in response to the request of the United States. But even as at now, I'm not too sure there is any specific request for extradition now. All that we have learned so far is that there is an arrest warrant issued by a court of law in the United States, the implication of which is that the Interpol is supposed to execute it anywhere the officer is found. And I think that's the situation as of now. But undoubtedly, that it does not threaten the image of the country, that would be an understatement.
If you look at it, because I'll come to the issue of the law, From what I'm learning and what we know about what Rahman Abbas has said, Hush Puppy has said to the FBI, and the plea bargain that is in process. I'll come to that in a moment. But let's look at the issue of the warrant of arrest that have been issued by the FBI. Now that Mr. Abba Kyari has been suspended by the Nigerian police force, what does this mean? Will he be handed over to the FBI for their own investigation? Can they investigate him on Nigerian soil, or it behoves on the Nigerian police to investigate him? What does the law say about this issue?
Well, like I said earlier, that it's just wanted by the United States now for the purpose of prosecution in the United States. But beyond that, before, for example, you can extradite a Nigerian citizen, there is a process that must be followed. And as at now, although the law is neither here nor there, I know that there is this 1967 legal notice that is often relied upon by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation when it comes to the issue of extradition between Nigeria and United States. But for some of us, we believe that Section 12 of the Nigerian Constitution will certainly override that particular legal notice. And to that extent, it cannot be said that there is an extradition treaty that is enforceable between Nigeria and United States. But be that as it may, what my expectation is that before we can even go to that level, the preliminary investigation as is about to be done is necessary for us to establish at least what I consider or what lawyers say is a prima facie case before we can trigger the process of any extradition. But I do also know, as a matter of fact, that where such warrants are issued, normally the mode of execution is through the international police, which is the Interpol. So for now, what ordinarily would then happen is for the Interpol to act if they have received the warrant of arrest. But beyond that, again, is the aspect relating to the fact that even morally, my view, this is my personal view, not the law, is that in an allegation of this nature, there is nothing wrong, particularly if the officer is sure of himself, to even turn himself in. Because so far what we have heard from them is that he has no complication in the matter. If you do not have it, there's nothing even wrong on your own, even running there to say, look, I want to clear my reputation. So beyond the investigation being done by the government, he can equally avail himself that opportunity that is already afforded. So as far as the law is concerned, what is being done is due process.
So, I mean, what I wanted you to clarify for us is this. Because the Police Service Commissioner said that he suspended pending the investigation. And so if the FBI has issued a warrant of arrest on him, that means FBI want to take him in, and that's a kind of extradition. But before that happens, is the police Nigerian police force, the one that will take the investigation here, according to the statement today? Or what does the law say? Will it now be handed over to the FBI for that investigation? Can the FBI investigate him on Nigerian soil? That's one of the major issues I would like you to clarify.
But the FBI cannot come and do the investigation on Nigerian soil. We must put that beside. But Nigeria police is entitled to conduct their own internal investigation. In fact, ultimately, as requested by the Police Service Commission, they still will have to turn it in, because when it comes to the issue of discipline, it's the Police Service Commission that has that brief. So, as of now, it's the Nigerian police force that can conduct their own internal investigation of the allegation. FBI cannot come into the country and conduct investigation here.
Let me now take you to giving us some insight on the law of evidence, which is very critical in any criminal case such as this, because before, in the process of investigation, there will be evidence if a prima facie case has been established. But in a case where a suspect has pled guilty in a criminal case, such person as linked in this matter it could be seen or perceived as accessory to the matter. What is the implication? Because whatever anyone who pleads guilty in a criminal case says is very far-reaching, isn't it? Or what does the law say?
It's far-reaching, but it's not conclusive as against the suspect. It's not conclusive. It can still be displaced. That assertion by the person that had confessed or pleaded guilty is not binding on the new suspect. Is still presumed innocent and still have the opportunity to at least present his own case.
Is the issue of presumption of guilt still is it relevant in the American law? I don't know if their own practice is the same with our judicial practice here. The presumption of innocence.
Their jurisprudence is the same as in Nigeria.
Okay, all right.
It's the same. There is presumption of innocence.
Okay, so we'll be hoping and looking forward to how this pans out. Not so much can be discussed for now because it's still unfolding. Perhaps for those who have praised the Nigerian police force, would you join them to say kudos for suspending Mr. Abba Kyari in this process?
Certainly I will. I'm glad they've done that. At least they've been able to salvage some measure of our integrity, of our reputation as a country by that singular act. At least it shows that they are serious-minded and something is being done. The usual expectation in our context, in our country, is that such will be swept under the carpet. But with the action they have taken now, it seems to suggest that there is some measure of seriousness taking place in the arena now. So they deserve the commendation. It's not misplaced at all.
For people like Hush Puppy and the likes, Hush Puppy is still allegedly involved in the matter because the case is not conclusive yet. But for those who are involved in internet fraud, who stay under the disguise of internet and in the dark to defraud people, what do you want to tell them tonight? What would you say to them in this kind of situation, especially when the integrity of the nation is involved?
Well, the integrity of the nation is involved, is at stake, and we will plead with them to desist from such acts. But beyond that, one thing is certain is that no matter how long, the arm of the law will still catch up with them. They can't escape forever. So they must constantly bear that in mind. And the earlier, the better they realize that and appreciate that fact, the better for them to at least desist from such acts.
Let me switch gears now and move into politics. Yesterday, Saturday, the 31st August 2021, the All Progressives Congress, APC, began the transition process it said it will embark upon since the Governor Mayor Malabuni-led caretaker committee came to the public with the plans of conducting a national convention and putting in place a substantive leadership of the party. One thing that almost ruined that party was the Supreme Court judgment and the implications of it. There are a lot of people who are aggrieved in the matter. Let's speak with Mr. Banner, who is also a former legal advisor of the APC. Give us your view on what happened. There are several states like Bayelsa, in Osun State, in Lagos State, a few states in Nigeria. People are aggrieved about the word Congress. You understand the intricacies of what led to this situation in the APC. Let me get your view on the ongoings.
You mean the ongoing Congress?
Absolutely.
Well, my view is that, how do I say it? Well, let me just mildly and diplomatically put it that what is going on is reckless, to say the least. My expectation is that that event of yesterday should have been postponed for several reasons. In the first instance, to the best of my knowledge, within their circle, I know that there is no credible register upon which they can premise any Congress at all. Secondly, I'm aware, if no other place of Lagos State, that even those who were supposed to conduct were just convening stakeholders meetings on a few hours to the end of yesterday without any committee at all. No register was displayed, no nomination form. People didn't even have nomination form. They didn't submit anything. Nobody screened anybody. So from my perspective, it's just a complete sham. And it's even, if we, for whatever it is, what we consider the decision of the APS court Latin class Wednesday or so, one would have expected a very responsible manager to tarry a bit and let the cloud be cleared. Right now, as I'm talking to you, it's very cloudy. Nobody understands the gravity or the import of the Supreme Court decision of Wednesday in Akeredolu's case. And in such circumstances, you do not proceed until you are clear in your thought and in your ways. As of today, I can tell you so many opinions have been expressed, but all of them, I will say, without fear of contradiction, they are all speculative and premature. Nobody has seen the full judgment, the official judgment of the court as of today. The expectation is that hopefully by tomorrow, the certified true copy will be released for people to digest them and now be able to make informed decision and opinion. And in such circumstances, why would they proceed? Why are they in a hurry to do something which eventually might end up being calamitous? Because if eventually it is the truth that the Supreme Court, the Airport Courts, came to the conclusion, unanimously for that matter, that Governor Boni ought not to have signed any of the nomination papers of Governor Akeredolu. The same thing will apply to the Congress they are doing, because the letter of notification to INEC was signed equally by Governor Boni. So if the foundation is lacking, certainly you can't build anything on it. So at the end of the day, the whole exercise will be a nullity. It's a complete waste of everybody's time. So for me, the least I can say is that the exercise is just simply reckless. I do not want to use the word irresponsible, as I've said before, but let me just say it's reckless.
You mentioned two things which I would like you to clarify. You talked about the unavailability of register, but the party said that it just concluded a national registration.
Yes, I'm aware they did the registration. There is a difference between registration and register. You can do registration. It's the process of computer compilation and computerization that will lead to having a register of party members. Today, ask them how many party members are issued. Do contestants even know those who will be voting for them? Which is part of the basic requirement of a free and fair election or a free and a transparent Congress. That is not applicable. Where did you see in your own sojourn yesterday the register being displayed or the names of even contestants being displayed? They have said that in fact, I believe that as a result, due to the lack of the register itself, they decided to promote consensus. But unfortunately, they didn't eventually achieve that at all. At least in Lagos State, I can tell you that there are no less than 5 tendencies, all of who disagree. Several parallel congress, supposed or purported congresses yesterday. So for me, from my experience with even all progressive Congress, when they tell you consensus, just take it as imposition. It's as simple as that. It has a different connotation under APC.
But the party's constitution recognizes the issue of consensus is one of the options in electing officers in the offices stipulated by the party's constitution. Is there anything wrong with consensus?
There's nothing absolutely wrong with consensus. Of course, I will be one of the people to encourage consensus. But once there is a voice of dissent, it ceases to be consensus. Proper Congress must be held. That is the position of the law. Anything beside that is a nullity.
So, yeah, a proper Congress must be held, yes, but consensus is one of the options of election as stipulated by the Constitution.
Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. But mark my word, I said once there is a dissent, once one person, for example, like I said to you, I said in Lagos, where I operate from, and I'm conversant with the fact, I know there are not less than about 5 tendencies, if you like, call them factions of APC. In such situation, all the 5 must agree to what is happening. Once any one of them disagrees, then there can never be consensus again.
But what would happen, because the president had instructed at the NEC meeting that anyone who is aggrieved should go to the court and withdraw their cases. A day before the Congress started, or the date for the Congress, right here, news just came in right on set on Friday that in Bayelsa, some members of the party had gone to court to stop the exercise. What does that mean? Is it that things are, it's a boomerang, or things are escalating, or the cookie is crumbling yet again, like we saw before the caretaker committee came in place?
Certainly, the cookie is crumbling, undoubtedly. I can tell you for free, in fact, as at the last country, there were about 5 or 7 cases as at Friday. And I can tell you for free, before the end of this week, it's not unlikely to be up to 30 of those such cases. And it's expected anyway, because once there is a violation of the document that binds all of them as members of their party together, then the only option open to people is to ventilate their grievance in court. No other way, say you want to promote anarchy, and they take the law into their hand. So for me, they haven't done anything wrong. And they do not even need, as far as the law is concerned, to exhaust any internal or domestic remedy within the party, because the Constitution gives unfettered access to the court. So no other act, law, guideline can disentitle anybody from going to court, much less a pronouncement of a person.
This is also very interesting because in the cases that are, for some of the years that I've monitored political development in Nigeria, especially internal politics of political parties, when you see people going to court in this manner over the national, the validity of the national leadership of the party, it doesn't end well. It waits for them in the wing very close to the general elections, and it's a bad omen for the political party. It was a political move, a political solution that the APC put in place to resolve some of the critical issues, the legal issues, before the Memalabuni intervention came. Would a political solution, and how would it happen, be able to help APC in this situation?
Well, honestly speaking, I'm not too sure that political situation can come to their rescue again. It appears to me to be too late in the day. And legally, if they have to go legal, then if what is playing out is something to go by, then at the end of the day, you also discover that it could be catastrophic for the party, as has been variously commented and predicted by a lot of people. There is no doubt about the fact that the nearer we get to the election, the higher the hostility. So for me, I believe that it's becoming extremely difficult to find or develop any mechanism towards the resolution of the conflict that is playing out now. Particularly, there are so many interest groups already in the party, and most of them, of course, are rising or growing against the background of the 2023 election. And where such happens, and there is a threshold, or there is a particular there is a particular item that all of them are looking up to, then it becomes practically impossible to find a common ground in this system. So for me, the only way for them now, where they are, even without necessarily reading or seeing the Supreme Court judgment, I would say that as things stands today, if you go by Article 17, Roman figure 4 of the APC Constitution, it is very explicit. There's no way the present caretaker committee can do anything that will not amount to a nullity. Every step they have taken so far, the one they are taking right now, and the one they should be taking, will eventually and ultimately likely to be a nullity. So why do you want to go to that direction? So for me, I have predicted it, and I hope I will be disappointed that certainly internal implosion of the party seems to me to be inevitable ultimately.
That's very instructive. Coming from someone who has upheld the constitution of the APC for several years and advocated for the APC in several situations. Mr. Muiz Banere, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and the former National Legal Advisor of the APC. It's a pleasure having you tonight, and thank you so much for the thought that you have shared.
My pleasure.
Internal implosion, that is what Muiz Banere has called what is happening in the APC. We take a breather, but when we come back, we'll take a commercial break. But when we return, there are those who are aggrieved in the APC. We take samples from 2 states that are critical in the APC scheme of things. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here. We're staying on the internal APC matter. there was the World Congresses that were conducted across the states of the Federation by the APC yesterday. And in some states, which we're going to be picking two samples of those states tonight to discuss, there are grievances and disagreements between the factions in the party, whether or not to go by the consensus decision of election or not. In Osun State, some group loyal to the Minister of Interior and the former governor, Rauf Aregbesola, are not happy with the manner the World Congress in Osun State was handled by the Governor Oyetola-led group. And in Lagos, a group known as the Lagos for Lagos is aggrieved about the exercise. We have all of these sides to speak on the matter tonight. Perhaps we should begin from Osogbo, where we have the aggrieved party here. Joining me in Lagos is Mr. Jide Adediran. He's the coordinator of the Lagos for Lagos. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Let me come to you naturally, Mr. Adediran. What happened? You sort of have emerged in the Lagos APC, and you've started this Lagos for Lagos process. But for those who believe that you are not of the mainstream in the APC in Lagos, and yesterday you seem to be unhappy with the World Congress, some of them have described you as an outsider. What is your grievance about yesterday's exercise?
All right, thank you very much, Sean. Yesterday's exercise, the way we perceived it, the only exercise that happened yesterday that we know is the Congress that we participated in across all the 245 wards. Before yesterday, the Dr. Bashir Mohammed 7-man committee that came from Abuja to conduct the exercise called a stakeholders meeting. At the meeting, he read out the guidelines. What we asked him, two things. One, if you're here to conduct what congresses, you need to constitute another 3-man, committee per ward that would work alongside you. Or is it this 7-man that is going to work, or the 245 wards? That was a question we asked him. So no committee was in place. As at 5 p.m., a night before, the evening before the Congress Day. So, and the second question we asked him, are you aware that some of us, we have paid? One of the guidelines of the party is that there will be nomination forms. You have to pay a certain amount, which we did. For 1 week now, we've been trying to get a form after payment. The delegation that came from Abuja to do this said that the governor has hijacked the nomination forms from them. And I asked Dr. Bashir, you are organizing or conducting the World Congresses tomorrow. What forms have you? Who are the aspirants? Or, who are you conducting this exercise for? And, his response was like he doesn't have any business with forms and all of those things. And in my own thinking, even if you are sent to do an archer job, or for those who want to send somebody to do an archer job, you should send somebody who is a little bit intelligent. You can't come to Lagos and come and tell us, so what do we do from there?
There are a few things that you said. One, allegation that the governor is involved in this matter.
Absolutely.
You don't have the evidence to that fact, that the governor has hijacked the process.
I do.
Because there was a press conference which we covered, and the committee said that there are forms to be sold, and anyone who wants to obtain the form should come and collect the form.
When was this press conference?
It was on Saturday morning.
Exactly. Saturday morning on the day of the World Congresses. Form should have closed from Friday. That is the guidelines of the party, that the form will be open for sales between specific time, and it closes on the 30th of July.
Because of the committee told us that the reason why they addressed the press conference was because of the grievance for people like you who think that they have been sidelined in the process, and they wanted to make it clear that we can even extend the collection of form by another few hours.
So what time was this press conference?
It was in the morning at 9 a.m.
At 9 a.m. Have you seen the response of Dr. Bashir, who said the exercise started at 8 a.m. across the 245 wards? How do you marry that with his claim or with your own claim now that you had a press conference at 9 a.m.?
I'm a journalist
you were at the press conference.
Yes,
at 9 a.m.
Absolutely. And
exactly. And that was when he told you form was available.
Some of your Lagos for Lagos group were also there. And the question is that why didn't you ask them? Why didn't you insist on the process and the procedure?
We were not at the press conference.
But you were at the press conference on Friday.
Of course, we were at the stakeholders meeting on Friday with him, and that was where we asked him that, look, we've made payment for the past 1 week. These are tellers, evidence of payment that we've paid to the coffers of the party, and we still don't have funds to be part of the process you're conducting tomorrow. So if you're conducting this process, who are the aspirants that you are conducting this process for? Then secondly, is that you are here to conduct a process, in the entire 245 wards, and just 7 of you are here. You ought to have constituted another 3-man per ward committee that will work around, the entire 245 wards with you. Who are these committee members? What's their name? Where are they working?
Was that work for consensus?
Listen, consensus, of course, first thing you have to do is to constitute a committee, whether or not we're going to go into consensus. Consensus now means that 2-3 people are sitting together. We want to see how we can harmonize. If you have a dissenting voice, just one, there must be an elective
congress. The GAC, which is a very powerful bloc in Lagos APC, the Governor's Advisory Committee, some of the elders of the APC in Lagos, they came together early last week, and they categorically said that this is the way they were going. And they've made those kind of stand over the years. Did you hear about that?
Ashewu, you have a copy of APC Constitution with you. This is it.
Yeah.
Have you gone through it? Did you see anything called GSC in that Constitution?
No, but
the fact that you have been doing something over and over again doesn't make it right.
The extra procedural procedures that you politicians make, it's not my business as a journalist.
No, I'm just calling your attention.
No. I understand where you're coming from, but if the way and manner, I can't brief for your party because that is the way you wanted to operate. That's where you have operated your house. And so if the elders of the party who have preceded your time of coming into the party have said, this is the way we want to run the party, do you have objection to what they said?
Of course, I would have objection to it because, again, why did my parents send me to school? What all the exposure? What do I do with it? Why should I take directive from a party that is not known to the constitution of our political party? I mean, who does that? So we're saying, and look at the name, Governor's Advisory Council. It doesn't have anything to do with APC as a political party. If their job is to advise the governor, there are a lot of things they need to advise the governor on.
Against the former governor, Akiwumi Ambode.
That is because
they were very instrumental in the removal in not allowing him run the first.
Do you want to hear the truth? That GAC is just one person's name. It just brought some people together and say GAC take decision. It's one person taking decision.
Let's hear from what's it called? The Osun side of the divide. Mr. Ismail Omipidon, I understand that he's back with us. Give us a sense, because the question I asked before we lost the connection with you, I don't know if you can hear me now. Great, I can see you now, Mr. Omipidon. The other side, those loyal to the Minister of the Interior and the former governor, said you've sidelined them from the Governor Yetola's side of things, that you have sidelined the Aregbesola group, and that the consensus, they did not agree to it.
Yeah, correct. Don't forget the exercise on Saturday. That was even 7-man committee. The man what they call the Osun Progressive had announced their intention to go for a parallel Congress. There was a stakeholders meeting that was duly and this stakeholders meeting were attended by all within the APC in the state. It had the Senate spokesperson, Bola Bashiru. It was a meeting with former deputy governors from the state, where we had leaders from the 9 federal constituencies in the state. A meeting where we had the governor, committee chairman of the state, and the committee from Abuja. And so nobody sidelined anybody. perhaps they probably stayed away from the stakeholders meeting. But even if they deliberately stayed away from the stakeholders meeting, those who attended the stakeholders meeting showed clearly that they were perhaps in the majority, where you have those leaders that I wonder who is the state of Osun.
No, but I mean, if you're saying that there are places where the Congress held yesterday where the so-called consensus model did not work. So if you say that the stakeholders met on the consensus model.
To the best of my knowledge, I am not aware where the consensus didn't work. Only place I was told somewhere around the just one word, and eventually the man had 200 behind him as against who was shouting, who had about his majority, because before the Congress there had been series of stakeholders meetings, party leaders, party members on what they wanted, and even this was again read. So, to the best of my knowledge, of the 330, I am not aware that we had any issue. And if you look at the way the Congress went yesterday, vis-a-vis the noise being made by some parts of the party who are calling themselves of the Osun Progressive Talk, if indeed there were, what I expected was if a contest in at least more than half of the 332 words that we have. That was just maybe 1 or 2 or 3 words, including Speaker of the State in the Ejigbo local government, Najin Salam. Apart from that, of the 232 words, I didn't see any way it showed any presence.
All right. So I'll come back to you in a moment. We'll bring in Honorable Alimi just in a moment, who is one of those who are aggrieved. What is your next step of action now? Because Lagos for Lagos, you guys are saying that you're being shut out of the House. What Congress is, local government Congress and state Congresses, they are the very pedestal of how candidates can emerge, because these are the owners of the party. So where do you go from here?
We've not been shut out. You see, this game is a game of numbers, okay? Like I said to you, we paid for forms. We have evidence of payment. We have a list of potential party officers who are now party officers as a result of the exercise we carried out yesterday, because we had a Congress yesterday. We affirmed them yesterday.
So you did a parallel Congress?
Absolutely. We're the only group that had an exercise yesterday. I went to my ward, and we went there. We affirmed all the party officers of
Lagos,
the group.
Lagos for Lagos APC faction
Absolutely.
held its own ward Congress.
Absolutely, yesterday.
Different from what the National held.
What did national? There wasn't anything.
Wasn't the one that was conducted by the national body?
Because the national body didn't conduct anything in Lagos. Didn't conduct anything in Lagos. We told Dr. Bashir that look, we have paid.
What did Lagos?
We have evidence of payment for forms. We have our list. So you didn't tell us what is going to happen, no committee. Okay, so what we did was to just go to the field, file out, affirmed all our... Because even if we're going into consensus, I'm sure, this is how it works. If we sit down 3 or 4 of us and we decide to say we are bringing our list together, harmonizing it together. Yesterday, there's something we call affirmation of those who would have gone out, file out and affirm them. So nothing of such happened in Lagos. If it happened, the governor of the state should be somewhere in his ward doing same. All of the commissioners should be somewhere in their ward doing same. We were on the field yesterday. We did affirm all our own candidates for the party officers across. And what we're doing next is to attach our evidence of payment, evidence of the affirmation that we did with our list, everything, and we'll take it to Abuja. This is the rest of what we conducted.
Let me allow Honorable Kolapo Alimi, a former commissioner for local government in Osun State, who is of the Rauf Adegbeshola group in Osun State, They are the aggrieved party here. Honorable Alimi, what went wrong? What are your grievances?
Good evening, Sean. Good evening, Nigerians, and thank you for having me. I hope you are hearing me live now.
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
I want our governor, Ogbeni Itala, actually when he came, we thought we are one, but along the line, he divided the party. He used to favor his own group. So in respect of this Congress, sir, when the people from Abuja who were to sell the form when they arrived the states, the governor invited them to a meeting, and after the meeting, he told them point blank that nobody will purchase the form and that he will buy all the forms. He bought all the forms with about 26 million naira plus with a single teller. And so he started telling the whole world that what is going to happen is that he will give the form to his loyalists and cronies. So we thought he was actually joking, but when we discovered that he really meant the business, we sent people to Abuja and we obtained forms. You know, in our own group, we obtained forms for individual, one by one, because the people contributed the money. For the governor's group, he obtained only one form. So when the Honorable Benga who is the chairman of the state committee, very, very late, around 4 p.m. on Friday, we've been expecting him to come. We thought when he comes, the whole thing will be settled. And so when the Honorable arrived, the governor welcomed him, and the PM land invited people for stakeholder. They didn't invite that. Look at perspective. People do not go where the stakeholder in this state, the former speaker of this state, Right Honorable Najun Salam, is he not a stakeholder in this state? Eda Alo Adebiyi, former chairman of the party, is he not a stakeholder in this state? The secretary of the party, Honorable Razak Salisile, is he not a stakeholder? They didn't do that. They invited the companies and they agreed on consensus. Consensus remains. Whereby everybody agree. In these situations, we have plenty of people that have obtained form in their own name, personally, one by one. They have obtained form, they have filled the form, then when they now said they want to force consensus on everybody.
Honorable Alimi, let me get a clarification from you. You are aggrieved about the sales of form and how the process started. But did you partake in the exercise? Did the exercise hold at all yesterday?
Thank you very much. We partook. What happened was that when we got to the venue of the convention, the Governor Itala group came up with lists, and they said they only come, they have only come to permission. Our people rejected it, and they said they were not ready for the Congress. When we discovered that they were not ready, we were one who actually conducted the Congresses. And we have videos. We have videos of where people rejected, where they left. They said the leaders of the party have agreed on consensus. I said, who are the leaders who have agreed on consensus? When some people have obtained forms, what are those who have obtained forms? Are you now saying they are not? They do not have rights to partake in the Congresses? And so, what actually happened now is that what happened in Osun is a charade. We did not have properly conducted Congresses in Osun. It is only our group that did the Congress.
All right. So, Honorable Alimi, we're out of time, but let me allow just about 20 seconds.
In how many of the world?
Let me allow Mr. Omikpidon just in 30 seconds to respond because we need to close now. Mr. Omikpidon, you heard what the allegations are.
Let me ask him, in how many the election conducted? Is he conducted in his private residence ward? Even when they just do it just to gather themselves to his own local government but just to gather people in the president and say they were holding. Find out from the island, find out from the police, find out from the SSS. The exercise was peaceful. They wanted result into violence, but we received the opportunity.
All right. We need to leave it at that, gentlemen, because we are out of time. Honorable Kolakwa Alimi, thank you. Mr. Ismail Omipidon, thank you. And Mr. Judah Adedon, thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. Well, I know that these issues are still very much in the minds and the lips of so many of the APC members, but we keep tabs on the situation. And that's our show for today, everyone. And thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimbale. Bye-bye.